Well, hello and welcome everyone to episode 24 of Tui Snider's Offbeat and Overlooked. This is a mostly weekly show where I interview a variety of experts about all sorts of things, topics ranging from cemetery symbols, forgotten history, folklore, the paranormal, quirky travel, Bigfoot, UFOs, gargoyles, basically all the offbeat and overlooked people, places, and things that tickle my fancy. And as I always say, I have a very ticklish fancy, hence the variety. Now, in case you're new here, I'm Tui Snider. I write books, I give talks, and I do a lot of research. I love sharing all the goodies with you guys. This week's guest, I think you're gonna just love her. It is Martha Hazzard Decker. She is retired from law enforcement, but she also does paranormal research. Her new book is called Haunted Hill House, Where Spirits Speak. I have a copy. I could just look right at it. And as you can see from the banner, Jack Osbourne from the show Portals to Hell, he called Haunted Hill House the most sinister location we visited this season. So we're going to be talking about that. I kind of want to ease into it. There's some other things I want to talk about because she does so many different things. I mean, talk about being multifaceted. That is Martha. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I see a few people are popping in here. This is fun. I love it when people show up before the show. And I know we have already, who all do we have here? What the Paranormal? Amy showed up. Hi. Yes, she's going to be at work, so she can't join in completely the whole time. Ken from Colorado. Always great to see him. And we have, who else do we have? I know I saw someone. I know Jenna. Yeah, Jenna's here. Howdy, Jenna. And we have Francisca. And what is she saying here in the Netherlands? Several parts with severe flooding. Ooh, wow. Yeah, that could be serious, huh? Okay, well, always, I know more people will trickle in as we go. I'll try and keep an eye out. Oh, Debbie's here. Debbie from Canada. Hi, Debbie. Nice to see you. I'm hoping a few other of the regulars show up. We'll see. I'll just do my little intro. And then, of course, I'll be bringing Martha on in a little bit. Now, I wanted to mention that people have been asking me if that video that I did with the city of Austin, it's going to be 40 minutes long. It's coming out allegedly sometime this week or next week. I don't know. You know how it is with projects. It kind of keeps getting tweaked and bumped this way and that. But I do have the teaser trailer for it. I have a link to it in my description box below. So if you haven't seen that yet, please consider giving it, it's only 40 seconds long. Open it in a new tab or something and watch it and check it out. Give it a thumbs up. You know, that makes me look good, right? But I'm very excited. I did get to see a rough cut of the 40-minute long video, and it came out nice. I'm really excited about it. So I can hardly wait to show you guys. Now, for my photos of the week, I have a few. I wanted to share this one. This is my parents. You guys have been following. I know a lot of you have been asking me, sending me messages and emails because and asking how they're going. I give little updates in my weekly newsletter, but I haven't done too much. And as you know, the reason I dropped the show for a few weeks was because I flew up to Washington State so I could visit my dad in a rehab center. He had to have his leg amputated due to COVID complications, and he's doing great. He's making jokes, so that's always a good sign with my dad. But it's been so hard on everyone because the whole time I was up there, I only got one official in-person visit with him. The rest of the time, I would just show up at his doctor's appointments. So it's very hard with the whole COVID thing. If you heard that noise, that was my husband walking in. He probably forgot I have a show right now. Hi, Lair. Say hi. That's him. And so this is my parents having an official in-person visit. And they have been married since 1953 and have rarely spent more than a few days apart. So this whole, him being in the hospital and all these restrictions has been very hard on them both. But they're doing well. As you can see, they're looking very happy there. Now, in other news, I am working on a new book for Reedy Press. I've signed the contract and all. I got to get it out by the end of this year. And it is a scavenger hunt for the town of Dallas. And so I go around and I take pictures and they'll show a little bit of it. And then I have to write a little, like a 4-line poem that's a clue. Oh, here's one. I look like my mom. I know, don't I? We look a lot alike. I didn't get the red hair, but I got the fair skin and a lot of other qualities from my mom. It's for sure. I'm like her mini me. So I yesterday it was 90 degrees here in Texas, or as Texans say, only 90. Which, it was very sunny though. It was a sunny, hot, like the sun is upon you type of day. And I ran all over the place. I had a very ambitious list of photographs for clues to take. And I had to quit. I was on page 4 out of 6 pages worth of places and running around out there taking photos, having a blast. But the combination of sweat and sunscreen in my eyes, I mean, I couldn't see through the lens of the camera after a while. So that was not good. I just ordered like a headband and some other stuff. I'm going to go out there again. But one of the fun things I found yesterday is a cemetery, a pioneer cemetery in the heart of Dallas. I thought that was so cool. So this is it. At first glance, you would think, oh yeah, just another one of those country cemeteries that Tui's always going to. But then check this out. Lo and behold, that skyscraper in the background. And here you are, this pioneer historical cemetery just right there. It's really neat. Dallas has a lot more green spaces than you might imagine. So this was really neat. I took a whole bunch of pictures there. They have a very nice angel. They have a lot of nice monuments. And one other fun thing that I found while I was there, yes, indeed, folks, I found the 10 Commandments, in case you're wondering. There they are. They're in Dallas, and more about that later. I just had to share that. That was a surprise to me. I have things on my list that I'm planning to see, but I'm also keeping my eyes out and just looking for fun things. You never know. All right. So those are my photos. Now, this week's sponsor, I thought I should choose something from, if you're new to the show, you know that I have a historical imaginary sponsor for each show. And for this week's show, I have an ad from Mineral Wells, Texas, because I tell you, Mineral Wells is hands down the most chock-a-block paranormal town I have ever been in. Like, if you go there for a paranormal investigation, great. But I've just been there doing other things. And that's when I've been like, what did I just see? What did I just hear? Wow, that town. I don't know what it is about it. It's named Mineral Wells. There actually are mineral wells there, hence the name. But back in the day, here's an ad from 1949. People would buy basically the water, but they would evaporate it. So it was just the crystals so that you could add water to make your own instant water. But it would be exciting mineral water. And that sounds really ridiculous and like some sort of gimmick. Oh, can you see the cat? Here she goes again. She's just been all over the place. We can talk about that later. But so yeah, you get that's her little, she has a stub tail. So anyway, people would actually buy essentially instant water, not just at Mineral Wells, but other places. And I always thought that was interesting, but it was a way of making your own mineral water. And they sell actually mineral water in Mineral Wells to this day. Now, of course, my real Patreon supporters, and some of you are here today, I see, are the following: Bob, Connie, Ian, Scott, Ghost Cat, Jessica, Angel, Ann, NVJ, Ken, you're here, hi Ken, Patty, Sarah, Julie, Margaret, Hugh, Mikhail, Naomi, Tim, Pete, Sarah, Rachel, and of course the other Tui. I just love that a Tui supports me on Patreon. I just think that's neat. Oh, hey, Bob and Connie must be here. McIntyre's. Hi, guys. Nice to see you. Now, for our books of the week, I had to feature ones from our guest. And that, of course, would be Martha Hazzard Decker. And I have one in my hands right here. I'll just show you. This is the one we're going to be focused on today for our interview with her, Haunted Hill House, Where Spirits Speak. And it's going to be very fascinating. I can hardly wait to dig into this. But she has another book as well, which I would like to touch on at some point and see if I can get it up here. That is paranormal profiling. Because of her background in law enforcement, this really informs the way that she does her investigations. And she knows how to interview people without asking leading questions and contaminating the witness, for lack of a better word. I'm sure there's some actual word for it. So that's something I hope we have time to touch on. Of course, I can already see that we probably won't have time to touch on everything that she has, because she sent me a whole bunch of great photos and she has stories for them all. And so, you know, and of course you guys will be asking questions too, because she's been on some TV shows and I know you guys always like to ask about that. So that'll be fun. Let's see. All righty, so let me give you a little introduction of kind of this is going to be the Cliff's Notes for Martha's biography, because if I read her whole bio, that would take up the rest of the show. So I just condensed it down and given y'all, like I said, the Cliff's Notes. Here we go. Oh, here's someone. Yeah, she says she definitely wants to read the book about profiling. Yeah, now Martha's about to re-release it, so you might want to hold off a little. I'll let you guys know, or make sure you follow her on Amazon. I did add a link in the description box. You could like open it in a new window to check out her books later and maybe follow her. So you can be, you hit the follow button on Amazon so you know when she has new releases. And oh, hey, Duckman, great to see you. Thank you for coming. Who else am I missing? McIntyre's, whoop, whoop. I get to talking and sometimes I don't see you guys down there. All right. So here's Martha's severely abbreviated bio, and get that out there. Now, Martha Hazzard Decker is an author, photographer, paranormal researcher, speaker, investigator, PI, process server, retired detective. She also spent over 10 years as a volunteer firefighter and a rescue scuba diver. And I know that isn't even everything, tip of the iceberg. She has her finger in a lot of pies. As you can see. Now, Decker, she retired in 2007 from law enforcement as an assistant chief of police and detective. So yes, law enforcement background, people, ask the legal questions you've got. While in law enforcement, she was a negotiator, instructor. She specialized in domestic terrorism and crimes against children. How can you not love her? She has worked with federal and state agencies. She also worked for the state of Texas as a child death investigator. Wow. I wouldn't be able to do that. I think that's so amazing. I mean, just emotionally, I think it's so cool what she can do. And she also worked with the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. Now, when she was a kid, she had some unexplained occurrences, and that is what triggered her interest into the unknown. So I'm hoping we can touch onto that, kind of get her origin story, as we say. She has been involved in paranormal investigations since 1999. So she has been doing this quite a while. Recently, she was on the shows Portals to Hell and Deathwalker with Nick Groff. She's had an experience investigating private homes, commercial businesses, historical sites, UFOs, cryptids. Cities have even reached out to her, asking her for help with, I can't say the word, municipal buildings. I really want to ask about that. I'm so curious. She's also worked with law enforcement agencies to help solve unsolved murders. I hope we get to talk about that. And to top it off, she is an empath, and I want to dig into that. She has experience as an investigator, writer. I've talked about all that. So I think I just need to tell you that, of course, her most latest book is the main focus of what we're going to be talking about, but we'll get to that, because as you can see, there is a lot to dig in here with her. I am going to just go ahead and bring her right in here without any further ado. Here we have Martha. Hello, Martha. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Who was that person you were talking about?
Hey, people are excited. Can't wait to hear this interview. People are excited. Yeah, you've done so much, Martha. You've had such an amazing life so far. I'm just going to bring up some questions I have here. Well, I mean, there's so much. I'm like, come on, I got to talk really fast and get it all in. I already foresee having you back on the show. Now, I was curious. Let's just talk, because here you are. I think it's nice to see you in uniform. We mentioned you were in law enforcement, and just can you tell us a little bit about that?
That was my retirement photo, and that was the chief next to me, and we're in my office, and I tell you, that is the only picture that he ever let anybody take of him. He just I guess it was his Sicilian background. He didn't want his photo out there.
Well, my brother-in-law was a special agent for Fish and Wildlife, and he would never answer the phone when he was during his career, and they would always let it go to voicemail because people always want to know, oh, when's the game warden home? So maybe some of that.
Yeah, he was just he was an amazing horse trainer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he had worked for the been in law enforcement with the Cattlemen's Association, and he came from Harris County many years ago. He's since passed, maybe in the last 5 years. So, but yeah, I learned a lot from him.
Where was this? Where did you work?
This was Tool Police Department, TOOL, just like a screwdriver and a hammer, a tool. And it's out in the Cedar Creek Lake area, which is about 60 miles southeast of Dallas.
I can picture that.
So he ended up in Corsicana before he came out there with us, and he had a lot of time behind him. And we ran the department like a big department, and our big focus was education. A lot of small departments have trouble with that. They have trouble, with budgets with city councils. However, what a lot of people don't realize is that 75% of the police departments or law enforcement in general in the United States, 75% has 10 employees or less.
Wow.
So the big cities, Dallas, New York, Chicago, LA, they're actually in the minority. So sometimes the departments will bump heads as far as suggestions on how to do things, because what a lot of the big departments want just, won't work for the smaller departments. So being in East Texas, being often 10, 15 minutes from any backup, you learn to work as a single officer and handle whatever it is. You just have to handle it because there may be no backup.
Wow.
So that's, so I just, not very many things that scare me.
Yeah. You've got cojones.
You have to learn to suck it in and just handle whatever it was.
Wow.
So, I keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, you said you focused on education. What do you mean by that exactly? Educating the public?
No, with the officers. There's a lot of, you have your mandatories, but there's a lot more. For example, by the time I retired from the state, I had over 3,000 hours of specialized training.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So, I had over 2,000. I had 2,000, 2,500 when I left there. And so that's the training. And
I see.
So many of these departments, their officers would almost lose their commission because there was no budget. The city council wouldn't let them go, and you have mandated things you have to take in order to keep your commission. So, eventually T-Cole, it used to be T-Close, now it's T-Cole, put a lot of the mandatory classes online for those who couldn't get off. And I still maintain my training because I might wake up tomorrow and go, hey, I want to go reserve at a police department. I want to go work cold cases. Let me see who I can find that'll, let me come in as an officer. So I keep myself updated.
Oh, that's great. Of course you do,
never
Martha.
know.
We wouldn't expect any less. Now I'm going to take this conversation just total right angle degree because this is one of the photos you sent me. Frank Zappa? Hello, what's going on here?
Yes, that's me and Frank Zappa. I'm the little picture in the mirror. When I was 18, my folks were already in Dallas. I spent a year in Memphis. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but I spent a year there before I moved to Texas. And Mid-South Productions, who's actually, the company's still in business, that's when they started doing rock concerts. And somehow I had the connection. I have no idea how I got it. So I spent a year professionally photographing all the rock concerts. And Frank Zappa was their very first concert. And they would leave the concert with the band, and then they would go to a bar till it closed at 2, and then they would go back to the hotel and party all night. And Frank, so this is 1972. They left him at the convention center. and he rode with me to the bar because I was 18 years old. It's 1972. The first car I bought was a 1969 Ford Thunderbird with suicide doors. That was the last year that they did those with suicide doors, and it had the works, the big motor. I mean, everything. So,
wow, was he a nice guy?
He is probably one of the most intelligent people I have ever talked to.
Oh,
very, very, very intelligent.
I'm glad to hear that. I always got that feeling he would be. He seems very smart. His music kind of exudes kind of highbrow and absurdity, but also, yeah.
Yeah. So, with him, David Bowie.
Wow.
I have all kinds of stories. But what I tended to do back then is I would just shoot at the concert and put the camera up. As 18, I didn't really have a mentor as far as doing that kind of work. And it was something I was gifted to. It was one of my talents, that I had was the photography. And because, that's it. After the concert, back in the hotel, that would have been the time that I could have really done some really creative photography.
Yeah.
And Frank Zappa had actually wanted me to send a copy of my photos to him because he wanted to highlight some of them on his next album release. However, it ended up that the guy that I was working with, they'd bring me the film and I would shoot the stuff and give them the film to get developed. It was stealing all my work.
Oh, man. Oh, that is really lousy. Taking advantage of your youth.
Yeah, and I did, when I found out, I didn't know what to do.
Of course.
I have one black and white photo, and on my website, mardeck.com, you can go in and look for the Frank Zappa piece I did, and it'll have that one black and white photo that I had taken pre-concert when they were, setting up. And then I have a few color ones because the color film broke off in the camera. So I handled the color film. So they never got a hold of the color film. Yeah.
Wow.
And so there were a whole bunch of bands. Yeah.
It reminds me of that movie, Almost Famous, Cameron Crowe's, because he was a young kid who just got launched into doing photography for rock bands, kind of like you.
Yeah. Well, I know that I took my mother to see that, and it brought back a lot of memories. The difference was I didn't have to go, try to get to do the stuff because I was already doing it.
You lucky duck. That is so great.
It was it was a fun time. I didn't save any of my backstage passes. Growing up in Memphis, I mean, there were musicians all over the place, so it wasn't a big deal to me.
Oh.
And, I wish I had saved them because there was, Procol Harum, Slade, David Bowie, Frank Zappa, and I can't even remember who all they were. Yeah, Procol Harum. We're riding down in the Winnebago, riding in the streets of downtown Memphis, half on the sidewalk, half on the street. Nice. And somebody that I used to know had a Porsche convertible, 2-seater, and the driver of the Winnebago was playing a game with him, trying to see how close he could get to him so that he couldn't see the car.
Oh, wow. Just some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just back there cracking it.
Well, you lived through it all.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I didn't really know how to group the pictures you sent me, but I kind of put some that were obvious, seemed like travel photos together. Here's something we've actually talked about a couple times on the show, but if anyone's new here, they might, or if they've seen it before, they might already be able to guess what you're doing here, but you can tell people.
I have to look myself.
Oh, you're at the Grand Saline. You're about to lick the salt.
Oh, okay. Okay, Grand Saline. Okay, thank you. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I got my glasses on for the both of us.
Yeah. I'm looking really close. Yeah, Grand Saline, the rock salt house.
Yeah, that's so great. The Salt Palace for their visitor center. I just think that's the funniest thing.
Yeah, salt is there's no bacteria on salt, so go look at. They have actually that piece isn't so big anymore. It used to be the house I'd salt, I'd lick. So. Yeah.
That's funny. It must bring good luck. That's all I can say. It must bring good luck. And then in this picture, are you in Chaco Canyon here? Or
no, I'm not. In that one, I'm on the airport vortex in Sedona.
Oh, I've been to Sedona.
Yeah. It was on my trip to Chaco Canyon that we did a day trip. I didn't realize it was going to take 5 hours to get to Sedona.
Oh.
for about 2 or 3 hours, and it was a long day for me as the driver.
Oh, boy. I love that picture, though. And, you know, we had a vortex expert on last week, so if anyone missed that, they should check it out. Wow. Did you feel anything? I've never been to Sedona. You know, how did it feel to you? You feel interesting, or?
Well, Sedona to me was very touristy. So, you know, maybe if I'd gone, of course, the hotel, I mean, yeah, the airport vortex is the easiest to get to. You still have to do a little bit of climbing, but it's easiest. So it's probably the busiest. Maybe if I tried one that was further out, but I will tell you, Chaco Canyon, it has,
really?
Yeah.
I just saw a documentary about Chaco. Did you send a picture of Chaco, or did I?
I did. There's one. Yeah, there's one in there of me. I don't know if
you can tell this is it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm over at Pueblo Bonito at that point in Chaco Canyon. Yeah.
Well, I just saw a documentary where all those structures at Chaco Canyon, you probably already know this, but I didn't realize they were aligned, celestial alignment to north, south, east, west. And there's certain solstices and equinox where the light slices through specific cracks. It's so fascinating there. And so you really felt something.
Pueblo Bonito is the biggest place like that in the world. And you can actually, I mean, there's other structures that you can walk around, but you can actually go into Pueblo Bonito.
Oh,
you can go in there and you can go into the room. Yes. And I didn't even go through half of it that day. It was, you know, it was hot, but I will tell you, and then we stayed about little over 20 miles away, but you're still within Chaco Canyon, you know, area.
Yeah.
And the vibrations out there were constant. The whole week there, it was just vibration city all day long. And at night, it was funny because the person that I was with, they put their headphones on, they'd put the stuff they're listening to, and they'd conk out at night. And 22 miles away, there's a place, it's 20 miles to get to the highway. You're actually on a state highway, but it's a dirt road from the park. So you don't want to go during rain. But once we get on there, 2 miles away, it's called Outlier Cabins. And it's the only place around there. And he has 2 cabins, and he has, you know, you can camp there. The campgrounds over at Chaco Canyon are small. So there's not a lot of people that can camp there. So we stayed there. We were the only ones there. He had several hundred acres. We're up against his brother's land, which is several hundred more acres. And you could see out for miles and miles.
The stargazing must be phenomenal.
Yes, stargazing. But we're in a cabin that's the you know, like the little storage units that people get that they're turning into cabins and Airbnbs and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're in one of those, and there's running water in the one that we're at, but there's no electricity out there. Yeah, you can go up and around the corner like at a campground, and there's actually hot shower and you know, some bathroom stuff like that, but there's no electricity. So we're in there, and it's the only place around there that our phones would work too, as far as calling home, say, hey, I made it through the day, we're okay, was up there, nowhere else for miles and miles. So she's conked out, and I know part of it is it's cooling at night. So as it's cooling, the cabin's going to have creaks and groans, but I swear all night long, I would hear it's like somebody's pacing back and forth on the porch, back and forth, back and forth. And, you know, and there's no curtains or anything, just back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like,
that'd be
I don't want to see what's out there. You know, is it? Yeah. So it's the cabin settling. That's all. It's the cabin settling.
Yeah. You're trying to rationalize it. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but it was, I can't wait to go back someday.
I would love to go there. It's on my bucket list one of these days.
Yeah.
Well, now in no specific order, I put this one in because it's only like 20 minutes away from where I live. So, it's you at the Aurora Alien.
Yeah, over there in Aurora, Texas, at the cemetery with Ned, the alien, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what they're claiming is his site. Don't know if that's the exact right one because he's been moved, and but that's where everybody goes and puts their stuff there to, to say hi to Ned.
It's a space alien. I know. See, the first time I went there, this is what the gravestone looked like. It's so cute with the little, the little portal and the little holes in it. And then when I went back to get more photos of it, and I took, a better camera and everything, it had been stolen. And it wasn't, and then when they put that rock there, the big rock that you're by, they put it in a slightly different spot than where it is when I look at my photos and where it was. So I don't know what the deal is there. So if they do ground penetrating radar again, because they have in the past, to determine if there's a little coffin down there, they're going to need to do a little bigger area than they might expect. But I just wondered oh, go ahead.
Oh, I know. I was going to say, that's really fascinating place, because did it happen or didn't it happen? But the fact that it was in the newspapers in the 1800s,
1897.
Yeah, is like, would they have even thought to make up something like that in 1897? So,
I know. Yeah, I thought it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard when I first heard about it. But then here we are almost 10 years later, and I can't stop doing research on it, and I'm working on a book about it because it's so fascinating. There were so many sightings right then, and they're really interesting to me. So
they are.
I was going to tell you, here's what it looks like now. I don't know if you've been there recently, but as you drive into Aurora now, I don't know if you were, this is kind of recent times, the city is all into it now. Like their logo has a spaceship now, and it says a legendary Western town, and it has a little spaceship and all this stuff. And there's a place that serves Martian margaritas. So I think you and I definitely need to go have Martian margaritas there sometime.
I've already had the Martian margarita.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good, but I didn't see any Martians, but
what are you going to do?
Right.
All right. Well, I don't know. What's the story with these folks? What are you up to now?
Okay. This is Vicki Higdon, who goes on a lot of the travels with me, as I know you've seen in pictures, and she's also does some of the paranormal investigating and blessings or cleansings with me. And this is let me make sure it's the right person. I think this is Cheryl. Yeah, this is Cheryl McKinney. Cheryl and Orville, or not McKinney, but Murphy. Cheryl and Orville Murphy own a place in Mena, Arkansas called Board Camp Crystal Mine. And at the Crystal Mine, there's paranormal, there's very definitely Bigfoot and possible UFO activity. She had written a book.
Trifecta.
Yeah. Well, I initially went with a group of other women for the UFO experience. Initially, that's how we met, and then we've become good friends since then. And Josh Gates did one season with I think he did like 5 episodes on UFOs, and they were featured on the very last episode there. But they had 3 pillars of light that they saw, and their son lives in Austin. He happened to be up there, but these pillars of light just literally came up from one of the areas that they're personally doing their crystal digging, crystal mining. They're on one of the largest quartz crystal areas in Arkansas, and they've had it for 17, 18, 19 years or so now. And so these beams of light were coming up, and then they realized later that they weren't shooting up into the sky. They actually leveled off, and they came up like that. And so a neighbor called MUFON, and they had some investigators come out, and they brought some other investigators out, and they determined that it was UFO activity. And somebody had mentioned that possibly they were there, and what you were seeing with the beams, they're actually like pulling energy out of crystals to possibly to fuel something. And but what was funny, they went up there the next day, and all of their metal tools that they were using for digging and everything had become magnetized overnight.
Oh, weird.
Everything became magnetized. To this day, they can take something out there that's metal and not, and the next day it'll be magnetized.
Wow.
You can be standing in one spot and the compass is pointing telling you the correct direction. You can move over a couple of feet and it's totally opposite. So that works crazy.
Wow.
And there is UFO activity. They were initially talking about rocks falling from the sky. Well, I saw signs of Bigfoot activity the first time I went out there. And so the next time I was out there, I'm asking them a little bit more about that. And when do the rocks happen? They happen at night. Do you see where they come from? No. And I looked at them, I go, those aren't coming from the sky. You have Bigfoot here.
Yes.
And Bigfoot is not throwing them at you, but towards you. Since then, they have gotten people that don't believe in Bigfoot would think it's crazy, but I saw their outlines, I heard them, and I pretty much played with them the last time I was over at the Fort Camp Crystal Mine. They have a juvenile nursery there. Troy Hutch, who I got to know in Texas in law enforcement, is up in Oklahoma now, and he also investigates Bigfoot sightings, working with 5 of the different tribes in Oklahoma.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so he was there, and I hadn't seen him for a while, but I'd known him, professionally for 20, 30 years. And so we're out there wandering around at night, and we would have rocks, we'd have sticks tossed towards us. And it was a full moon, so you could actually see the outlines, the shadow of a Bigfoot. You could hear him, and you'd have the wood knocks. So we had everything. But he found a nursery where they're training the juveniles how to bend trees, how to braid trees. And I did not have time to go the next day. I had to come home. I had gone up to Lexington, Oklahoma for an event, and then drove from there over to Mena, Arkansas. Oh my goodness. They talk about Bigfoot stuff. Yes. And the Mena Airport is where that's where the federal government flies a lot of stuff out. When they were working with Noriega and flying out weapons, they were flying it out from Mena. And and I have another friend who's 20 miles due west of Mena that has 80 acres surrounded by forest, national forest. And he has creeks that surround his property, and Bigfoot activity is literally through the roof there. I mean, I have seen and heard, and the whole shebang over there. We have gotten EVPs. There's been over 20 plane wrecks within a 20-mile, I think it's 40 plane wrecks within a 20-mile radius of Mena. The Mena
maybe are those magnetic distortions there as well? I wonder.
It could be. The Mena Airport is really difficult to fly.
Remind me not to fly into Mena. Note to self. Drive.
I drive.
I will drive. Good to know.
So you can go. So you can go to Board Camp Crystal Mine, and you can go dig for crystals.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, you can do that just about every day. And then they have different events, whether they're, I'm not sure, I'd have to go to the webpage and look and see what they have for, the public as far as the other stuff goes, but they do things with that now and then.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Now I've got another question. Who are these folks you're hanging out with?
Well, that's them. Well,
so is it at the Crystal?
Yeah, this is this is the same thing exactly, because Troy Hutch is in there, and let's see, which one is Troy? Let me see if I can see.
Yeah, I don't know who's who there. So you're with some Bigfoot investigators.
Troy. Okay, you've got the guy in the middle with the red shirt. He's a big Bigfoot person, and he's from the East Coast.
Okay.
So the person that, when we're looking at it, the person on the left, I believe that's no. Guy on the right is Troy. The guy on the left, the guy on the left is Cheryl's son.
Oh, okay.
And her husband is behind there.
So here's a couple Bigfoot guys. I'm not as up on Bigfoot researchers as I am on some other things, although I do find it fascinating.
I know. I love it because I love to be outdoors.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I did a lot of camping when growing up in Washington State, and I never had any Bigfoot encounters, but I did when I moved to the west side of Washington State, I did meet people who lived on Indian reservations, and they told me, if you come down, you can experience this. And I never did get the chance. I always wanted to go down and spend the night. They're like, just spend a weekend with us. You're going to hear, they were like throwing dirt clods, on their porch or knocking and things like that. And that was the first time I'd heard of that. So yeah, I would love to experience that, and also seeing shadows and things. And so I would love that. I have not had that opportunity. Okay. Another photo. Where are you now? Where in the world is Martha now?
Okay. I think I'm in Waco.
So you
I know that was
silos.
one of those that I did that with. Where am I now?
Yeah, she does that on her Facebook page.
I'm at the silos, Magnolia Silos, at that one weekend with the you know what the Magnolia Silos are.
I don't actually. No.
That's the one with the Joanne, and they're the ones that put Waco on the map. With their gosh, what was the name of I can't think of the name of their show. And then now they have a whole network. Gaines, Joanna and Chip Gaines.
Oh, got you. Yes. Okay. Right, yes. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went. So that was another one of my weekend adventures with a couple of friends of mine. We hightailed it down to Waco for the day, and went to the suspension bridge and a lot of the other things that were in Waco.
It's fun. There's so much to explore around here.
There is.
I love this. You're at Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo.
Yes.
I love New Orleans.
I do too. I lived outside of there for a couple of years when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
12, 13, which was a great time to live out there. And, my parents had so many people visiting those 2 years we lived there, which was great because we had to go down to the French Quarter every time that, someone came to visit.
How fun is that? Yeah, I got to go to the French Quarter when I was a young teenager too, and it made quite a stamp on me. It was really neat. I ended up sitting, I'm like 15 years old and I look like I'm about 12. And somehow my mom and I end up sipping hurricanes. I don't even know. And my parents were, strict. They would let me have like a little drink at dinner, with everybody else. I wasn't like a big boozer kid. It made booze not a big thing to me growing up, that they would let me, it was kind of like, okay, I'm part of the group. But anyway, I remember I met this piano player named Bud, and he taught me how to improvise. I got to sit next to him on the piano. He's like, okay, just play this note. And here's what you do when you, it was just like a big highlight of my teen life. So I just really fell in love with New Orleans after that. So.
Right.
But then I look back on it as an adult. I'm like, how did I end up drinking a hurricane? Nobody cared at that point,
Well,
like in the 80s.
Here's a funny story. My husband and I, we were there a few years ago, and they were having their weekend college football. It's similar to our Texas OU, and we were staying in the French Quarter, and we were out walking, and I looked at him and I said, we were staying at a place off on Canal Street, and I looked at him. I said, "We don't need to be out here tonight. Something bad's going to happen, and here's the impact. We just need to go back." That was the night they had about 5 New Orleans PD officers shot, and that's like 2 blocks from our hotel.
Oh, wow, yeah, that was a psychic thing. You paid attention to that.
Yeah, listen to that little spidey sense that you get sometimes. Because
I did actually yesterday when I was running around. There was one little park. I was about to walk into it. I had about 5 things in there I wanted to photograph, and something just told me, just stay on this. Don't cross the street to go there. And suddenly this guy kind of starts to come out of the park, and he's yelling at me. I just pretended to be on the phone and just noped my way right out of there. But I think who knows, I was thinking about that. Like that was one of those times where the spidey sense was helpful. Now I've got a couple more things, but I want to make sure we get into your book because it's already a 1:45. So I'm going to skip down to, I think I see the Marfa lights. I'm going to skip a little bit here because was this at Marfa?
Yes.
Marfa, Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the viewing station. Yeah, in Marfa for the Marfa lights. Yes.
And you know what Marfa means?
What?
Martha in Russian.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that is so perfect for you.
I know. Every time I say Marfa, people think you probably mispronounce my name.
Oh, that is so funny. Like your own name. Now, let me tell you how to say your name. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. So that is the state of, for a long time, because I've been there many, many times. I've seen the lights many times.
Ooh.
And it's just a little blip off the state highway that you kind of just drove onto the side of the road. There's times that I've left because there were some unsavory characters. And that was
Uh-oh.
really in the days before I even had cell phones. We're talking about, a
Yikes.
long time ago. And because I usually would go camp, and I always have a female friend that was camping with me. I'd go
Yeah.
shoot stock. I shoot stock photography back then. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, they have a nice viewing station. They have they keep it with red lights, so
Oh,
that
okay.
so you don't lose your night vision
Yeah.
when you're out there. Yeah, and I just thought that was just a perfect
Oh, nice.
shot.
That is such a beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah, my husband and I are going next month. I'm hoping to see the Marfa lights. I'm so excited.
You
All
should.
right.
You never know. Sometimes you have to wait a while. I think we had
Mm-hmm.
to wait an hour. I don't think we had to wait 2 hours, but we had to wait a little while when I shot this picture.
Mm.
For the lights to show up. But I've
Yeah.
had the lights look like they're going to race all the way over to where you are. They change colors, they change size, they
Oh, I want to see them.
multiply, they disappear. I mean, it's
Oh,
just, yeah, fascinating. It's a little more difficult to see them sometimes because that road is part of the pipeline road that they were building across the
oh.
country to get goods from Mexico. Well, actually from the Pacific side all the way through and up, through Houston and everything and on up
Mm-hmm.
north. So there's a lot of truck traffic. So it's a little bit noisier. There's a little more, lighting out there.
Oh,
And a lot
okay.
of times there's more people there,
Yeah.
but yeah. But if you can
Well,
just, wait it out, because some of them, they'll just get tired and leave. And
I'm
that's
gonna wait. I'm
great.
gonna wait. I've waited a long time to go there, so I'm gonna be
Yeah. So
determined.
you
I'll bring
just
snacks or something to placate my husband.
right.
He'll get missiles. All right. Well, I figure before we get into your book, you've got one more picture here. You want to talk about this at all? You got.
Well, yeah. That's me and Kathy Estes, one of the owners of Haunted Hill House, and of course
Mm-hmm.
John Zaffis.
Mm-hmm.
And during that conference that we were at, I was talking to him because when people call me about things going on at their house, we talk about it, and it's really bad. And the protocol is they send me a detailed email about events, their name, full name, address, phone number, all of that sort of stuff. And oftentimes a week goes by or 2 weeks goes by and I don't hear from them. So I'll
Oh.
track them back, and I give them like one phone call just to see, because I don't have to, I just do that out of courtesy. And so many times they will say, well, since we talked to you, everything's calmed down, nothing's going on anymore. So I was
Really?
talking to John Zappis about it, because it's like, I don't get it. And he just looked at me, kind of whacked me on the shoulder and goes like, well, duh, you're a neutralizer.
Really?
And then I'm going like, duh, a neutralizer?
Yeah. Wow. It's a superpower, Martha.
That was okay. Well, I know what that means, so that's interesting.
Huh, I didn't know that. So just interjecting your energy into the situation somehow neutralizes it. Is that that's what I'm getting?
Yeah. Either that or the spirits are going, oh crap, it's her. We need to get out of here.
Yeah. Oh.
She's coming if we don't.
I joke about that with my husband because his nickname is Mr. Fix-It. And so like if some appliance isn't working and I could try to everything and I'm like, Larry, come over here. He walks over to it and suddenly it just starts working again a lot of times. I'm like, I think it just saw you coming. And it's like, oh no, he's going to go in and rip out my innards or something. So it's so funny. So maybe it's like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So last year or so, I have started acquiring items that people think there's attachments to, and they want me to come get them and take them out of their houses.
Wow.
So those, so that's interesting too.
There's so many offshoots. Well, all right. So we're already at 10 to 5. So I want to dig into Hill House a little bit, and then hopefully we can touch back on people's questions about, because there's so many, like I said, so many fascinating aspects to all that you do. And maybe you can just give us a little overview. I'm just going to bring up this, and gosh, I should have put in an outside photo of Hill House, which I didn't. If people want to see what Hill House looks like, this is what the house itself looks like.
Right. Yeah. It's on the cover of the book. Yes.
It's in color, obviously, but that's the house, and it's in Mineral Wells, Texas. But let's have Martha just talk about it a little bit here. I'll bring the stuff up, and then we'll get into tell us how you got involved in this. and what it is.
Well, I got involved because a good friend of mine that you know as well, to him, Maria Elena Santos Kemp.
Yeah, she's so sweet.
Yeah, so Maria knew them. They had come to her because she's a wonderful psychic medium, and it turned out that Kathy and Sonny, her husband, were going also up to Jefferson for the History, Haunts, and Legends conference that you go to as well as a speaker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they knew me, but I didn't know them from that. And then they bought Haunted Hill House. They bought the house from Phil Kirchhoff, who's actually an archaeologist.
Yeah.
And he's fascinating. There's a fossil park in Mineral Wells that was the one that got that park there.
Yeah, he has a very scientific background. He bought that house not saying, "Hey, I want to buy a haunted house." He was like, "I want a real estate investment."
Well, by the time that he was in the back, there's a picture in the book of the shadow man in the camper.
Oh yeah.
And that's his camper.
Mm-hmm.
And they have replaced that camp. They got that camper when they got the house, but they have since replaced it with a newer model, a little fancier, nicer, and bigger. And because that's where they stay when people rent the house, because people leave in the middle of the night and they'll leave the house unlocked, and they live, they don't live there.
I've been there when people just abandoned ship on the house before, actually. My first time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Shadow Man, Phil was in the camper because the house was a lot different. I think the house was a lot different than it is now, because they have painted inside, outside, leveled it, new roof. They, bathrooms are working. I mean,
yeah.
They've done a lot to the house since they bought the house. But Phil was in that camper one night, and he hit something, like went bam and hit the side of the camper, and then it kept hitting it so violently that the camper was shaking, and he literally thought he was going to die. He thought the camper was going to be
roll over
on its side, and he pretty much didn't step foot back on the property. He would meet people out at the street.
By the time I met him and went there with a paranormal group, that's how it went. He said, he talked to us outside for most of it, and then he gave us a brief run through, and then he's like, "You guys have got it for the night. I no longer stay here. I'm afraid of the shadow man." Like, in addition to that camper thing, he told us how a hammer or something had been thrown very close to him. And he was like, I've just had a couple experiences here, and I don't know what to say, but I don't spend the night there or spend time there alone. Even in the day, I don't spend time there alone.
That's it. That picture in there, nobody else has that picture.
Yeah, buy that book, people.
And then Toby, the picture of Toby that's in the book, that's the only time, that's the first time Toby's ever been seen anywhere publicly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wonder, you have got great photos in this book. People, you've got to, you will definitely want to get this, either the paperback or Kindle, to really get a taste of this place. But even when Phil had it, I did like he had a scientific approach to it. He had set up cameras all over the place, which I really respected, because he was saying, gosh, I'm going to try and get some evidence. But so I thought that was kind of neat.
And they have cameras in every room except for the bathroom. Yeah.
Now what's going on here?
That was I'm with, you can look her up to Zero Discrimination. She goes by Gypsy Jules, and she does metal detecting for law enforcement. And she's been on the Travel Channel, I think or the History Channel, the one with the gold mines, the gold digging. She's been on some of the Prometheus, or the production company. She's been on several of those. Looking for gold. So we were up there one day. We had about a half a dozen or more of us up there with our metal detectors, and we were out in the hill that's behind the house, East Mountain. We were out there trying to see what we could find, because we found several. There's been several artifacts that have been found at the house on the property, and she's found some. She's been, she comes up several times a year and does that. But there's a bunch of us that were out there until it just got too hot.
I know what that's like.
Yeah. Because that there's also Sam Bass treasure hunting stories that he hid the gold in East Mountain, which they own almost all the way up. I think they own up to like 20 feet from the top.
Oh, okay.
On the 2 lots that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and somewhere up there, he allegedly hid his gold. There's also a jewel thief robbed a jewelry store. It was either in Denton or somewhere around Fort Worth. I don't remember. And supposedly he's still up there. And he went in there and was hiding stuff in a crevice. And there's a boulder that like rolled over on him, and he's still there.
Ah,
trapped him in there. Yeah, killed him. Yeah, yeah.
wow. Now you mentioned her being on the History Channel. I do want to make sure I ask you, like, what was it like when the portals of hell people came to the house, or other people, like TV people, have come to the house? Are they?
Well,
do you feel they're really getting the true essence, or what? What are your thoughts on that? Just tell me whatever.
Well, I know that Katrina were only given the information that the producer wanted them to have. So, you know, there's things that they got wrong on the show because they were only able to work with what they were given information wise. They didn't get to like walk around with Kathy and Sonny, but when they were doing it, there's things that happened that they didn't, they weren't filming. Like Jack was actually touched in the bathroom, the sealed up bathroom. The shadow room. He got touched in there, and it pretty much, you know, freaked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
wow.
But they are very nice people. He was so nice, and you know, so the house has been on Fright Night. A couple of the videos from the house, from their security cameras have been on, and it's hilarious with Fright Night with Jack and the Ghost Brothers. It is absolutely hilarious.
There are some good videos from that they've gotten, like the one where like Sonny, Catherine, her husband's, you can see something touching his back pocket, like something's moving his hands. I love that. And he's like, you know.
Well, and then I thought
you definitely have to go. You would love it. She's saying it's on her bucket list. Yeah, you would love it. You would love it. There,
you know. Paranormal Declassified, and that's Paul Beeben. He's the one that's doing the Mission Declassified. And so this year he's done the Paranormal Declassified, and he's not really a paranormal person. And Tim Wood is working with him on that, and Tim is. And so they did an episode at the house. And that one was more of a scientific approach, and they had a lot more of the, you know, their stuff was pretty much right on the money with everything they were saying. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm always curious because I know, television, TV, entertainment people are always approaching it from their angle. Of course, they're not just going to lay it all out because they worry about people changing channels or whatever. So,
well, I know because it's entertainment. People forget that it's entertainment, and you know, and that's what it's about. And yeah, Nick Groff, his brand new series, Death Walker, which has been showing on Discovery. It's going to be on Discovery Plus. Well, it's because it's not here yet. It'll be later this summer, this fall, but it has been playing in the UK. It launched in the UK, yeah. So if somebody's in the UK, they can see and look for the episode from Hill House. And I was on that one as well. And I don't want to, you know, say anything because it hasn't been released yet. But something that occurred that while we were doing our interview that I hope got on there because it makes Nick's eyes get like saucers.
Oh boy.
And I just go, that's so and so.
Oh wow. Now, you know, okay, because I know it's almost 5 o'clock. So I got to ask, because one of the rooms there is called the Scratcher Room, and you sent me a couple photos. I just wanted to show, like this one is kind of upside down. I think like someone's leaning forward, but that's the back of somebody's neck. If people are watching, what is the story here?
Yeah, and that's not upside down. I think that's right. And I'm not sure if that was in the scratch room or not, but yeah, something did that to his neck. And so there's scratches from, you know, including one of my scratches.
Yeah, I think I've got, well, this one got me, this person. Yeah, they said a little parting gift from Toby as they left. Yeah, this person.
Well, the person who was doing the scratching in the scratch room hasn't been scratching. It's almost as if since his story has gotten out, he hasn't been scratching as much, because that's the whole point that they have the house, you know, for education, for paranormal research, and that's why she, you know, liked some places to go. And I'm not sure.
That's your bites.
Mine. Okay. Yeah. My scratch I don't know if you were there when that happened. There was a group there, and I know I ended up with blood just pouring down.
No, I wasn't there for that.
And I had missing time.
Really? I hadn't heard of missing time at Hill. Wow, that's something I hadn't heard of. Now, I've got to ask, is activity ramping up since the Estes bought it? Maybe due to all the remodeling they're doing, or what?
Well, it did, and it's funny because when they first bought the house and they were getting it leveled, Kathy was sitting in what is now Priscilla's room, but it was the the covered porch in the back, and there was a wheelbarrow over there, and the wheelbarrow actually was thrown at her, and it scared her, so she called. Yeah, so she called Maria, Maria, what do? I just had this wheelbarrow thrown at me. And so Maria says to her, well, what did you expect? You bought a haunted house. And that's like one of my favorite stories, but
they went in knowing. It's not like they went in knowing this place was haunted.
They went in knowing, but these last 2 years, it has been getting more and more activity, and some of the people in the paranormal community, and if you watch the paranormal declassified version, they talk about it, but there's a house over in Indiana or Ohio, somewhere up there, that's called the Demon House. It's the house where they wrote, or they actually did a movie on the house. It was, and I forget, it's case 139, 149 or something.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, that's a true story.
Okay.
Law enforcement, CPS, they all did see this child crawling up the wall.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I have seen that. That is very eerie. Videos.
So that's the house, and they started calling it the Demon House. The family moved out. Zach Baggins actually bought the house, and I think I'm not sure if it's on Amazon or if it's on Discovery, is the documentary he did called Demon House, that goes into a lot more of the documentation and the history. Well, he bulldozed the house. And but what a lot of people have said, that was about a little over 2 years ago, a lot of people are saying that they believe that what was in that house portaled into the Hill House. Yeah. And wow.
I have heard that it has really ramped up, and I was just curious to get your opinion. I wanted to kind of go to someone who spent a lot of time there, because you've actually spent days living there, which I thought was really cool. You just lived there.
Yeah, I did. When I was writing the book, I spent some time there, but I wanted to see what you would experience just in day-to-day living if you actually lived there. But what I have spent, I don't know how many nights at the house.
She goes into that. She has like her diary from living in there in this book. I think it's really fascinating. And there's tons of photos and historic information in here. This is a very good book about Hill House. So if you haven't been there, or if you're planning to go there, you need this as sort of a primer. And or if you just want a scary read, read it with the lights on. I mean, well, you know what I mean? It's a paperback. You got to read with the lights on. But, even the Kindle, keep the lights on.
Right. I talked to somebody today who's been reading it, and she said she got so scared she had to quit about halfway through. It scared her so much.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So people can check that out. Well, now I want to make sure, because there's some things we couldn't get to everything, but time flies. Oh, here, I've got to bring this up. As y'all know, time flies. So if you've got questions for Martha, now is the time. I definitely want to have her back on another time, because there's just so much we didn't get to. And I have my own questions that I wanted to ask too. So everyone make sure
one thing I want to say really, really quick is, please do not buy that Kindle version of Paranormal Profiling. I will have the updated and revised and advanced version out later by the end of August.
Oh, good.
That company, I am in the process of trying to get Amazon to remove it. We went out of contract 2 years ago, and I'm trying to get it removed on copyright infringement, because they don't have the rights to sell it, and they're selling it.
All right.
They're selling it, and I'm not getting any money from it.
That's no good. Yeah, well, we want to have you back on to talk about that too, because I think that's such an important aspect. I think, one thing I quickly realized when I said that when I was writing my book, my travel guide to haunted places, Paranormal Texas. So I thought, oh, I want to spend time with all these different paranormal groups. And one of the first realizations I had was that anyone can call themselves a paranormal researcher, and they don't all have ethics or a system or any clue. They're often very biased. And so I went on some lousy ghost hunts where people are just running around making noise, claiming stuff, getting drunk, leaving me alone in a haunted house, And finally, I found a few good groups, and it was really interesting. So there's, you've really, if you're watching this and you're thinking that you want to go to a haunted house and you want to or attend a paranormal thing, number one, once her book's out, get paranormal profiling, because I think that's going to be so helpful. Like I said, your experience in law enforcement really informs the way you look at anomalous stuff, and the questions to ask, so you're not distorting. You're not going in there just going, leading questions and asking things. So I think that's really great. I want to read it when it comes out, the new and improved one, and I'll have you back on the show for that. And I haven't even looked. I'm sure people are asking questions. I haven't even looked. I went off on my ramble. Let's see. Francisca over in the Netherlands. I'll wait till the book is available again. Really want to read it. Yeah. And then we want to have Martha on to talk about it. Ken in Colorado, great show. Thanks to you and Martha. Yeah, thanks for watching, Ken. And I might just look at a couple of the questions I had asked. Now, what are you working on now?
The updating paranormal profiling.
Oh, got you. Yes. Okay.
Right. I'm working on that. And of course, the Haunted Hill House is a series.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much information. The only way I could get it out was to turn it into a series. Mm-hmm. So hopefully this fall I'll have book 2 out.
Oh, wow. Good. That's fast.
Yeah.
Well, Debbie up in Canada, she wants to know, was there anything at Hill House that scared you, Martha? Because we know you're rather unflappable. So was there any moment where you felt scared?
Well, it didn't scare me. It startled me.
Okay.
Most people would have been in their cars driving down the road.
And let me clarify that the first time I went to Hill House, my friend and I were abandoned there by big burly guys and everybody. They I thought they were joking the first time. A man ran screaming out of the house, and I thought, he's just being theatrical. But no, it happened. And before I realized it, we were the only ones left. So go ahead and say what happened to you.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail about it because it's in the book.
Give us the abridged
version. But it's something, it's something that would have, and I don't want to spoil it for somebody that's reading it.
Oh, that's nice.
But it's something that most people would have run. But I think because of my law enforcement, what happened, I was in the kitchen, and I was shutting off the computer, shutting off the TV, getting ready to just call it a night. I was real relaxed. I was way open. Everything had been, not too crazy. There was stuff going on, but not a big deal for me. And all of a sudden, Toby did something that made me run to the kitchen and look out into the hall and upstairs and go and holler like, yeah, I heard you. What? What?
I remember this part. Yeah.
What's your point? And then, but the adrenaline had kicked in, and I had just been texting Kathy. So I called Kathy, and as I was going outside, because I can go sit on the front porch, let the adrenaline kind of, wind down.
Yes.
And so as I go to the door, it triggers their security camera with the audio, right?
Yeah.
And which Sonny gets the notification. And when he looked at it while I'm still talking to Kathy, I hadn't even made it out the door yet. He said that there was an EVP on there that said, "Look, Toby made her turn red. He'll get her later."
Wow, that's long too.
Yeah. And then the next day when I was going upstairs, I said something into Toby's room, and his immediate reply was, "Yeah, was that you?" And so and more words than that. And it's like, "Yeah."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now, one question I do want to ask before we let you go is just, you were in law enforcement, and I've run across a few people in law enforcement who, some of them, oftentimes they don't even use the word psychic. They just say that they talk about their gut reaction, trusting your gut, or something felt hinky, or they use something, and they don't even, like they don't even think of it as psychic at all. And I'm just curious, what degree, like different people you met in law enforcement, how many of them you think, because I sometimes think, oh, here's my theory. I think that a lot of people in law enforcement are claircognizant, so they just know stuff in their gut. So because of that, you don't have to label it. It's not like you hear a voice or you saw an image, so you don't label it as psychic ability. And I just wondered, were there people that you look back on your law enforcement career where you think that, oh, Joe definitely had some empathic sense or this or that? I mean, do you think it's...
I think almost all of us did, because that's what helps you stay alive. Now, not that everybody listens to it, but it's something that helps you stay alive. And, and I can count on one hand the times when it's like, no, I need to wait for backup. Something's, something's hinky with it. It's not right. And those were all wise decisions.
Yeah.
But, it helped. But, it helped me with interviews and interrogations. It helped me know if a house was empty or if somebody was in it. So there are a lot of little ways that I used it.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. And you mentioned that you help, I think you were saying you help with unsolved murders. Law enforcement asks your help. Do they ask your help? I mean, does your empath abilities come into play there too? I'm sure.
Well, it does, and even some psychic, but a lot of it to me, it's always been more of common sense. But I know it's more than that.
It's deeper,
I just always kind of labeled it as common sense. Well, that makes sense to me.
See, that's what I run into with other law enforcement. They just, oh no, I'm practical, blah blah blah. But at least you realize.
And I did. Somebody recommended me to a CID captain with a department, with a sheriff's office, and they had a murder that's about 5 years unsolved, and because of stuff going on, I don't want to say too much about it, other than it was amazing. And because I'm able to use not just that empath part, but use all my detective training as well.
Yeah, you're a good package.
A more rounded look. And going out to the crime scene was amazing, because that was the first time you see psychics that feel the pain of the death, and they feel different things. Well, I had not felt that. At this location, I could feel it.
Wow. So it was really strong.
Well, yeah, it had involved a fire and trying to cover up the murder type thing. And once I stepped into that area of the fire, and it was 5 years earlier, I could feel the heat. Now, that may be something that a lot of people may have missed, but having that fighter training, I recognized the feeling. I knew exactly what I was feeling.
Oh, wow.
I was feeling the heat from smoldering fire, where there had been a fire, and you step in there, into the smoldering area, because that's just what you do, fighting grass fires and so on. And I could feel the heat. You feel the heat coming up to your forearm, not quite your elbow, but you can feel that heat down there low. And if I had probably not done any firefighting, I would have never noticed that.
Wow, that is really interesting. I love that. Wow. Well, all right. I want to remind everybody that Martha's book is, it's hard to put it up here and get it seen. Haunted Hill House, Where Spirits Speak. You guys are going to love this book. I know my viewers are book readers, and you can get this in paperback like I have, or Kindle. It's chock full of really interesting stuff, as well as photos, history. She's got another one coming out, and very excited. I really thank you for sharing your time with us today. Sure. And boy, I had a bunch more questions I didn't even get a chance to get to. It was so fun doing show and tell with you. Hopefully we'll be able to, I know you're busy doing a lot of interviews, but hopefully we'll be able to squeeze you back in another time, especially after your paranormal profiling book is out, because I think that is just super important aspect of paranormal investigating that gets overlooked, and your book is an important one. So I want to thank everyone who came, and make sure I'm not missing any. It's nice. People are enjoying you very much. All right. And I remember, just go to Amazon and buy this book. Wait to buy any of our other books. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And if you have anything else to say, let them know. But is that all right? All right.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, and they can find me on Facebook easy enough, or anywhere else, on Twitter, TikTok. I try to, get around.
She does. That Martha, she gets around. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And next week we have Greg Bishop, a returning guest. We will be talking about haunted places around the world. We're going to be talking about the intersections between ghost hunting and UFO hunting, regional and international differences in cemeteries, funeral rites, things like Nine Night in Jamaica, that custom, and differences in like various paranormal investigators have, even in America. And we're also going to talk about oatmeal. So yeah, it'll make sense next week. So we're talking about all that. So hope to see you guys then. Thanks again. And thanks for the show. And thank you for coming, Martha. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Anytime. Bye. Bye.